So the deepest part of yourself and the deepest part of myself is a place where no time passes. And when you awaken to and become aware of the deepest part of yourself where no time passes, you are captivated, enthralled, mesmerized. Because when you're aware of the infinite nature of your own being, you experience freedom from the burden of existence. Freedom from the burden of existence. Everybody familiar with the phrase, the burden of existence? Do you know what it means? Woe is me. It's so hard. I have so many problems. Right? I have so many psychological problems, emotional problems, financial problems, physical problems. So many problems. So existence is a great burden. Its experience is a great burden, right? One has all kinds of responsibilities. Isn't that right? If you're a parent, you have responsibilities. If you're a grandparent, you have responsibilities. You have your house, you have your work, you have all kinds of responsibilities. Isn't that right? Yeah. So there's enormous weight. And when we awaken to this infinite nature of the deepest part of ourself, the burden of existence, all the burdens of existence, all the burdens of existence, all the burdens of existence are nowhere to be found. Isn't that cool? So, when you see all these wonderful statues from Asia and Southeast Asia of the Buddha sitting there with that ever so slight smile on his face, do you know why he's smiling? Because he's free from the burden of existence, free from the burden of existence. So there's no burden left on his shoulders because he's awake to the infinite nature of the deepest part of himself that is free from time. Follow? So just to take it one step farther, the deepest part of ourself, where there's no time, has actually never been born and never entered the stream of time. That part of yourself, the Buddha called it the deathless or the unborn, the deathless or the unborn. And the reason for that is because the deepest part of yourself, the deepest part of myself has never been born and never entered the stream of time and does not experience, for that reason, any sense of the burden of existence that your ego does. So when you awaken to that part of yourself that's never been born and never entered the stream of time, the nature of which is infinite, has no beginning and no end, you experience a liberation from and freedom from the burden of existence, which is absolutely exhilarating and unconditionally liberating. So that part of yourself that has no identification with memory. So you and I, we have all kinds of memories in relationship to events that have happened in this life that may be painful, some may be pleasing, a lot of them are painful. But when you awaken to the deepest part of yourself, those memories don't exist because that part of yourself has never had those painful experiences. So that deepest part of yourself that's never been born and never entered the stream of time has never had any painful experiences. So there's no memory there. There's absolutely no memory of any kind of trauma or shock. And also there's no fear. So, I think that meditating upon, giving attention to, the deepest part of yourself that's never been born and never entered the stream of time, where there's no pain, there's no suffering, and there's no fear, and there's the awareness of infinity, is the best form of psychotherapy. Why is that? Because most of the time when we're thinking about what we're thinking, when we're not thinking about practical things or professional things, we might be thinking about our psychological condition. We just might be. Isn't that right? We just might be thinking about our psychological condition. And when you think about your psychological condition, how does it make you feel? Crappy. Right? Never makes you feel good, always makes you feel bad. Never makes you feel good, always makes you feel bad. Right? So the reason I feel that this is the best form of psychotherapy is because if you meditate deeply enough on the infinite, on the unborn, uncreated, immaculate, unstained, untarnished, uncorrupted by fear, by doubt, by trauma. If you meditate on the deepest part of yourself that's never been hurt, wounded, or traumatized, or victimized, if you meditate deeply enough on that part of yourself and experience deeply enough the inherent freedom and fullness and perfection of that part of yourself, then the idea is that there's going to be a shift of identification. So now you're going to begin to identify less with your psychological self, and you're going to identify more with the part of yourself that's never been born and never entered the stream of time. And the result is your personality is going to begin to change. So then if you take this all the way, your personality will begin to radiate with the spiritual self-confidence of knowing that at the deepest level you've never been born, never entered the stream of time, and never been hurt, wounded, or traumatized by anything that's ever happened within the stream of time. You follow? So it's a shift of identity. So the psychotherapy here is, the best form of psychotherapy is because you self-liberate yourself from being a wounded, from believing yourself to be a wounded person. And you can tell when it's working is when the personality of the individual begins to change to such a degree that the personality begins to radiate and reflect the light of their own infinite nature, and that freedom and that spiritual self-confidence begins to come to the surface. And that's when you can tell. So that's when you can tell that the light of enlightened awareness begins to shine through the self-nature of that individual, and you can tell that happens when there's been a deep shift of identification. You follow? All right.